Welcome back, friends, to Terrorverse TV. My name is John Altarelli. I'm your host again today. And today we're going to talk about a late-breaking, or actually very hot topic in New York City. It's the indictment of Mayor Eric Adams. We're going to get into that a little bit. We'll show a couple of clips. But again, if you like the content on our show here, we try to bring you the news unbiased as best we can on interesting topics. This one is particularly interesting to people in New York, but it's also a broader topic for the entire country. So before we get started, just remember, if you like the content, to please subscribe, like, share it with your friends, provide comments, hit the notification bell if you want to get updates. And please, we do appreciate your comments, but be civil. We're trying to get the news out. We're not trying to take sides. And if you want to get anything done in this country, we got to start to talk about these things openly, without fear of reprisals and attacks and trolling and all that. So let's get started. Jen, can you play, by the way, Jen is here, our producer, and she's going to play a little clip, a news clip, a recent news clip, and then we'll get into some of the charges and some allegations and some of the things that are going on in New York City. Thanks, Jen.
Mayor Eric Adams making more stops at city churches this weekend. He is due back in court this week for his 5-count criminal indictment as federal investigators continue to probe members of his administration. Today, he spoke at a church in the Bronx, reaffirming his stance on not resigning. News 4's Ida Siegel joins us live from the newsroom with a closer look at what he said today. Ida.
And Rana, the mayor joked this morning that the journalists following him had never seen so much religion in one weekend before. But he insists going to church is his normal routine, though nothing about this past week has been normal for Mayor Adams as he prepares to head to court again to fight multiple federal corruption charges. Mayor Eric Adams appearing at yet another church this weekend, this morning taking questions outside the Emmanuel Presbyterian Reformed Church in the Bronx.
This is a great moment to step up and show all New Yorkers who are going through complexities in their lives that how you must remain focused on your agenda, and that's what I'm going to do.
The mayor, speaking at the pulpit, said he has no intention of resigning, despite a growing chorus of city voices urging him to do just that.
I'm going to step up. I'm not going to resign. I'm going to reign.
The mayor was asked about the person who could force him out of office, Governor Kathy Hochul. Hochul called the charges a very serious matter, but has not indicated whether or not she'll act to remove the mayor.
We have a great chief executive in this state, and I'm going to continue to dialogue with her throughout this entire weekend and going into next week.
Adams pleaded not guilty to federal charges accusing him of taking bribes and illegal campaign donations from Turkish nationals. The mayor's attorney outside court said his client is innocent.
We'll be filing a motion to dismiss. We expect these charges to be dismissed. This case isn't even a real case. This is the airline upgrade corruption case.
Due process. While the attorneys handle the due process, I'm going to handle the management of the city.
So we got a sense of what's going on. So the mayor has been federally indicted for bribery, 5 counts: bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy, and 2 counts of soliciting campaign contributions from foreign nationals, that being Turkey. They claim that he took free trips, luxury hotel stays, and there's been some questionable campaign contributions. I think the trips were like 120 or 30. I don't know how much money the trips were, but pretty expensive trips. And then in luxury hotel stays. And then there was campaign contributions where they came through sort of false or entities, straw donors, if you will, and they were able to get matching funds that come from the government. So, if you raise so much money, if you're running for office, you can get matching campaign funds from taxpayers. And apparently they did that as well. They don't know how much, but he got at least $10 million of matching funds. So some portion of that, I'm assuming, was tied to these Turkish straw donors. And it's all sort of surrounded a situation where they were trying to get a building approved, a Turkish embassy, I think it was an embassy, approved in New York, and they had to get the fire department approvals, and apparently Mayor Adams threatened the fire department to give them the permits, whether they did the inspections or not. So, it's for the Turkish consulate, that building that they did. And, I don't know whether it's true or not that they actually got away with anything, or was there just a lot of pressure to move the ball along? Who knows? Not surprising. This is government. This is government politics. New York City, not surprising at all. But the extent of these allegations and the amount of it and the way that it all came about is very troubling for our society and for our system, particularly in New York. I was talking to some of my law enforcement friends from New York who follow this case and were aware of all this for a while. And they were explaining that this is sort of a typical foreign government tactic, is to get a politician who was sort of up and coming. So these allegations go all the way back to, I think, when he was a borough president or something like that. They go back years before he was mayor. And they started to sort of groom him by giving him campaign contributions and other things in support when he was running for office then. And as they got him further and further up the food chain, and he got further and further up the seat of power, they had more and more influence because he'd already taken money from them. And that's how these foreign governments will likely try to get politicians. And, we've seen he's not the only person in the country that's been accused of this stuff and been actually indicted. And he certainly won't be the last, but it is sort of tragic for New York City at this time. Right now, we have all the problems we have in New York City with immigration problems. To have our mayor now sidelined with this, and not only that, but I think, let me just see here, there was a bunch of other people resigned. There was, I think, the police chief, the education person. So there was, the police commissioner, Edward Caban, resigned. David Banks, the school chancellor, resigned. They've also did subpoenas and also raided the homes like Brianna Suggs, his chief fundraiser, the deputy mayor for public safety, and I think even Ingrid Lewis Martin, his close aide. So they're going after all of the people sort of around him as well. I'm sure that some of those people will cooperate in lieu of their own potential convictions and criminal charges and potential jail time. So I think the mayor's got a lot of trouble and clouds on the horizon. The interesting thing that I think is going to be is whether or not he resigns. Now, you saw from that clip, he's being very adamant about not resigning. He's playing the race and church card, going out to all the black churches and getting, I think he's even got our favorite race baiter to come out and defend him. So, it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens. And whether or not Governor Hochul definitely removes him from office, which, to be honest with you, I think, at least given what is going on and the extent of these indictments, you would think that this would be primed for removal. Now, I think a better thing for him to do, Adams, would be to resign, unless he's so convinced that this is not a problem for him, which I think it's difficult to see that given the evidence that's presented so far. And frankly, I highly doubt that the feds would come after him, although I'll talk about this in a second, the conspiracy theories out there that this is a Democratic assault on him because he didn't go along with the sanctuary city stuff and he sort of talked bad about the Democratic position or Biden on the immigration problem. I find that hard to believe that the Democrats, during a very contentious and very tight presidential race, that they would go and, basically indict one of their own in a city that is important to them, in a state that's important to them. So, they're going to have, of course, Al Sharpton is going to come out of his hole and defend Adams. He does that at every single turn. I'm surprised he's not out defending P. Diddy. He may very well be. We'll have to check that out, Jen. But that would be not unexpected that Sharpton would be running out here anytime he can to play the race card. I don't think the race card is going to help Adams in this case. I think this evidence is probably pretty strong. I doubt if they would bring that against a sitting mayor, particularly in New York City, and particularly on under a Democratic both a state and federal government. So I think these charges are likely to be serious and they're likely to stick. I heard from some inside sources that they believe it's all true and they knew about it for a long time. And his people were sort of very brazen and not so smart, and therefore the paper trail is likely to be strong, and therefore he's likely to be indicted, and not just indicted, but probably charged and probably found guilty, unless he takes some kind of plea at some point, which he might. And if I were him, probably I would think about it, rather than spending up to 40. I think the charges add all up. If you add them all up and go in sequence, it will be up to like 40 years of time. I doubt if he'll get something like that, but that's what he could potentially be facing. So people in New York, on top of all the other stuff we're dealing with right now, a difficult political environment, campus unrest with protests over the Israel situation and Ukraine, for example, and gun violence and Second Amendment rights in New York. I mean, there's so many things that people in the city, like myself, that we're dealing with that are so important that the last thing we need is to have our mayor, under criminal indictment, which pretty much makes him a lame duck right when we need him, or we need someone to do something in the city. So I'm hoping that the governor, leaves politics out of this and does the right thing to get us someone in that seat that can actually take care of running the city. Because this thing is going to go on for some time with Adams. I don't think this is going to resolve itself in a few months. It could go for quite some time. And the whole time he's going to be under attack. It's going to be very hard for him to run a city as complicated as New York. So I think this is a tragic situation for New York. I don't have anything personally against Mayor Adams. I actually met him a couple of times. I've been to a few ceremonies where he was, giving out accolades and awards to people like Nelson Mandela's grandson. I was at something like that at the mansion at one time. And he seems like a nice enough guy. I've always been hopeful that he would be a great mayor because he came from the police force, and I thought he would be a little bit better on law and order, which unfortunately has not happened. And I would thought he would be a little bit better on cleaning the city up. That has not happened. And I thought he would do a better job with the sort of immigration crisis that we're having. And frankly, I think that has been probably the biggest failure of all. Not to mention that we're still struggling with the school systems. I can go on and on and on of all the areas of the city that he could have improved upon. And rather, he's going to be spending his time defending himself from criminal charges. So not a good time for New York. Hopefully this will get resolved. It also comes at a bad time, given that we're still trying to recover from COVID. The economy's still in trouble. People are struggling. Social issues are causing more stress for New Yorkers. People have left the city. The taxation situation here is a nightmare. So it's just unfortunate because the city I love, the city I plan to stay in as long as I can, is in a bad state. And at the same time, it's still the greatest city in the world. It's still the city I believe will be the best city for some time to come. And I just hope we can get a leader in there that can do the job and focus on the city, the people in the city, and leave the other stuff, outside. And why he's getting involved with foreign nationals and foreign, Turkey, over a stupid, building. I mean, that seems pretty bizarre. As the mayor, he should be trying to help these foreign countries get their buildings, and their consuls and all that in the city. That's what we're here for. We have every country is represented in this city, and they all have their buildings. And it's not something that should be the subject of bribes and campaign contributions in order to get things done. It's pretty tragic. So that's not just an indictment of Mayor Adams, but it's an indictment of the entire bureaucracy in New York City that makes it so difficult to even get any sort of real estate project off the ground. And anyone that's been in New York knows how hard it is. Anyone that's tried to run a business in New York, anyone that's tried to build a building in New York, it's just difficult. And one of the things that he could have done, rather than take bribes, was to sort of streamline the bureaucracy in New York and make it easier for people to do business here. And that would be a good thing. So hopefully our next mayor that comes in takes heed to what's happened and gets back to running one of the greatest cities in the world and make it the greatest city in the world again. So thank you very much. There's not much more I want to say about this at this point. This is all going to come out in the news. Obviously, his lawyers are going to fight it. He's got a pretty good lawyer there, Alex Sparrow. I know who he is. He's a pretty good defense lawyer. So he's well represented by counsel. And I'm sure he'll do the best he can to to give due process to the mayor, and the mayor deserves it. So regardless of what the charges are, he has not been found guilty of anything yet. We should reserve judgment on that. We should give him his day in court. It's a right as an American, and I hope that people can keep the vitriol and the sort of attacks down, let the court process play itself out, and see where we go. And on the other hand, if Mayor Adams, had any sort of conscience, I think to do the right thing is to at least step down, at least in the interim, right, while this court case is going, and appoint somebody as an interim mayor or something like that. I don't know what the secession plans are in New York. I should have looked them up beforehand. I apologize for not doing that. But I'm sure there's a similar situation that you have in cities and state governments when the governor is not able to perform, or the mayor's not able to perform, or the president's not able to perform. I'm sure there's some sort of succession policy in place, and we should use that. We should get someone in there on an interim basis to try to keep the city running without the distractions of a criminal case, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be very hard for him to do anything at all during every minute of his day when you're in some kind of a litigation. Forget about a criminal indictment. I don't even know what that would be like. That must be horrendous. I've had clients, I've dealt with it, but on a personal level, I've never dealt with it. I can only imagine the stress and that he's going through, so I suspect that he's not going to have a whole lot of energy, even though he talks a good game about running the city. That's pretty much just a smoke and mirror front, just to hold up, appearances. It's going to be very tough. He's going to be spending all of his time trying to stay out of jail. So thanks again for this, for listening to me. This is a short one today. We'll do a few more short ones. Remember, I'm still doing the Constitution pieces. I'm going to be doing the Third Amendment very soon. I'm also want to talk about another session about this new thing out of California, where California has banned legacies and donors from getting preferential treatment in the California institutions, colleges and such. I thought that was pretty good. So I want to do a session on that, because I don't always give enough credit due to Governor Newsom out there, and California has never been one of my favorite states from a political or from a legal point of view. But when they do things right, it's important for me to say that and for other people to recognize it, and I'll do that in another session. So again, subscribe, send me your comments, share this, give us more suggestions on things you want to talk about or you want me to talk about. And Jenna will keep doing the hard work back there to make this look halfway decent and provide the clips. So it's been great. Thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon.